It began, as many royal turning points do, not with a public proclamation, but with silence. Behind closed doors, beneath the polished ceilings of Buckingham Palace and the careful civility of royal life, something shifted. The younger generation, once dutifully waiting in the wings, began to act. Prince William, heir apparent, the symbol of continuity and modernity, quietly began to assert a new kind of authority. And his first act, according to many close observers, was not to build, but to dismantle. The quiet purge of Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, no longer marks more than just the fall of one man. It marks the arrival of another's reign in everything but name. Before we dive in, there's something I need to share with you. Over the past few days, thousands have watched these stories unfold, but most haven't subscribed. If you're one of them, I invite you now to join us. Subscribe to Crownverse so you never miss the next chapter in this unfolding royal history. The story of Prince Andrew's downfall is now well known. A royal stripped of his duties, his reputation, and his dignity in the wake of scandal and settlement. Yet the more intriguing chapter of this saga may not lie in what Andrew lost, but in who decided he would lose it. For years, King Charles has carried the burden of maintaining both monarchy and family, often walking the fine line between justice and loyalty. But increasingly, those decisions bear the fingerprints of his son, Prince William. The heir to the throne, by all accounts, has taken a far firmer stance than his father ever could, one defined not by sentiment, but by survival. To William, the monarchy must evolve, or it will perish. And for that evolution to begin, some must be sacrificed. It was not long ago that Andrew still held hope for a return. Even after his settlement with Virginia Giuffre, whispers emerged that he wished to reclaim some semblance of public life, perhaps a charitable patronage, perhaps a ceremonial appearance. Yet those whispers never grew into action, because the door, quietly but decisively, had been closed. That decision, palace sources suggest, was not the king's alone. William, the next sovereign, had made his view clear. There could be no rehabilitation, no return to the fold, not while the monarchy's future depended on restoring public trust. And Charles, burdened by both age and fatigue, reportedly did not resist. The quiet purge began not with fury, but with paperwork. Over months, the trappings of Andrew's royal identity were dismantled. The use of His Royal Highness in any official capacity ceased. His military titles stripped. His remaining royal patronages reassigned. His public engagements cancelled. What remained was only blood, and even that, though unalterable, carried little power. Then came the final blow in October 2025, the formal removal of all royal styles, titles, and honors. It was a symbolic execution, a royal without rank, a prince in name only, reduced to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. And while King Charles signed the order, it was William's influence that made it inevitable. For William, the decision was not personal, it was institutional. In his mind, every scandal erodes the foundation of monarchy's legitimacy. Every controversy involving privilege without accountability endangers its survival. The monarchy, he believes, must be leaner, stricter, and above reproach. And Andrew, for all his defiance, represented the opposite of that. The past, the indulgence, the danger of a monarchy out of touch with the public it serves. But there is a deeper layer to this purge, one that reveals as much about the future as it does about the past. William's management of the Andrew affair wasn't simply about optics. It was about establishing authority. He understands that the monarchy cannot be reformed through speeches or gestures. It must be reshaped through example. By decisively cutting off a senior royal whose actions threatened the institution's integrity, William was sending a message to every tier of the royal family. The new era will have no room for the old excesses. The Queen, in her final years, was known for her loyalty to her children, no matter their faults. Her steadfast sense of duty was balanced by a maternal instinct to protect. But William is not his grandmother. His loyalty is to the crown itself, not necessarily to those who share its bloodline. It is a pragmatic, almost corporate approach to monarchy: efficiency over emotion, discipline over devotion. Where the Queen once embodied compassion, William embodies control. And nowhere is that clearer than in his handling of the Duke of York. Even the seemingly minor details reflect this precision. When Sarah Ferguson, Andrew's former wife, took in the late Queen's beloved corgis after her passing, some speculated that the dogs might feature in upcoming interviews or media spreads, a sentimental gesture that could also serve to soften Andrew's image. But that idea was reportedly halted immediately. William, it said, made certain that the corgis would not be monetized, commercialized, or used for publicity. It was, again, a small but potent act of control. In the House of Windsor, even the Queen's dogs are now protected from exploitation and from association with scandal. To the public, these gestures may seem administrative, but to those inside the palace, they represent the consolidation of authority. For years, Charles has tried to balance his duties as monarch with his identity as a father and brother. He carries, as his mother did, the heavy burden of family loyalty. But William carries something else: the burden of image. He understands that in the digital age, monarchy lives and dies by perception. Every headline, every photograph, every rumor shapes the institution's survival. And so in managing Andrew's exile, he was also rehearsing his own rule, testing his ability to shape the narrative, to act decisively, to control chaos before it reaches the public eye. And yet, in this exercise of power, there is also tension. Behind the scenes, not all approve of William's firmness. Some courtiers long loyal to the king see his growing influence as premature. They argue that Charles, though older and occasionally weary, is still the monarch, and that William's assertiveness risks overshadowing his father's reign. But Charles, it seems, is not concerned. Those close to him suggest that he views his son's actions not as overreach, but as preparation. He knows that succession is not a moment. It is a process. Every decision William makes now, however bold, will smooth the transition that is to come. It is a dynamic the monarchy has not seen in generations: a king reigning and an heir already governing. And it raises an unavoidable question: where does Charles end and William begin? That blurred boundary is most visible in the treatment of those who have fallen from royal grace. The palace today operates with a discipline that feels almost unprecedented. Leaks are swiftly contained, scandals are handled with precision and speed. And much of that efficiency, royal insiders believe, comes not from the king's traditionalist inner circle, but from the younger, sharper teams surrounding the Prince of Wales. For the first time in recent memory, it is the heir, not the monarch, who seems to command the future direction of the royal household. The consequences for Prince Andrew are profound. He is no longer merely out of favor, he is functionally erased. His portrait removed from offices, his security reduced, his presence at family gatherings restricted. Once the Queen's favorite son, he now exists as a private citizen in all but title, living quietly at Royal Lodge. The palace, publicly, maintains its silence. Privately, however, few doubt that this isolation is permanent. There will be no rehabilitation, no final act of redemption. The purge is total. And yet, there is an irony in all of this. For while Andrew's privileges have been stripped away, two vestiges remain, both untouchable, both deeply symbolic. The first is his position in the line of succession. Although he has been exiled from public view, he is still eighth before succession.
Legally, Andrew remains eighth in line to the throne, a status that cannot be altered without an act of Parliament. It is a reminder that monarchy, for all its power, is bound by its own rules. The second is his residence, Royal Lodge. Though whispers suggest that William would prefer his uncle to relocate, Andrew's legal lease on the property remains intact. These remnants are not privileges exactly. They are remnants of a past structure, legal artifacts of a system that cannot fully purge one of its own. Even a fallen prince still casts a shadow. William, of course, knows this. And he knows, too, that symbols can be more powerful than laws. It is not necessary to rewrite the line of succession or cancel a lease to achieve what he seeks. The message is already clear. The monarchy will no longer shield those who compromise its integrity. In that sense, Andrew's isolation is both punishment and example. His quiet removal marks the monarchy's loudest declaration in years. But beneath the decisive exterior lies a more complex reality. William's actions, though widely applauded by modern audiences, represent a shift in the monarchy's character. The institution that once prioritized family harmony over public accountability is becoming colder, more calculating, more self-protective. For some, this is strength. For others, loss. The compassion of Elizabeth's reign gave the monarchy its humanity. The discipline of William's may ensure its survival, but at what cost? This is perhaps the true essence of the Quiet Purge. It is not vengeance, it is evolution, the transition from monarchy as family to monarchy as enterprise. And just as companies streamline for efficiency, the House of Windsor is being restructured for endurance. William, in this analogy, is not just heir to the throne. He is chief executive of a brand too valuable to fail. For Andrew, there is no way back. For William, there is no turning back. And for the monarchy itself, the path ahead is one of relentless adaptation. Gone are the days when royal scandals could be forgiven by charm or overshadowed by ceremony. Today, every misstep becomes permanent, every indulgence a liability. William understands that, and in cutting away what he sees as weakness, he is also cutting away sentiment. He is not just purging his uncle, he is redefining what it means to be royal. In the end, the purge of Prince Andrew is not just a chapter in his personal downfall, it is the prologue to William's reign. It tells us who he is, what he values, and how he will rule. Decisive, disciplined, uncompromising. To some, that is reassuring. To others, it is chilling. But one thing is certain, the monarchy that emerges under his influence will not resemble the one we knew. Andrew's story is, in many ways, already over. William's is only beginning. And between them lies the lesson that every generation of royals must learn, that the crown demands sacrifice, and sometimes those sacrifices wear familiar faces. If you've followed this far, we want to hear from you. Was Prince William right to take a firm stand against his uncle? Or has the monarchy lost a measure of mercy in its pursuit of survival? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this exploration into the hidden shifts of royal power, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Crownverse, where royal history lives on.